Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity. Each episode, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self. Good morning, fellow badasses. And today we have an amazing show planned for you. I am so excited about today's topic. And as you guys are coming in, please say hello. Let us know that you are here. We have the comments on to be able to see you as you join. So please say hello. And so I would like to do a little bit of an introduction to our co-host today, our guest co-host. And so Ajitha Srinivasan, I had it so correct, Srinivasan. And so I did so well beforehand. I apologize. And so, Ajitha, I'm so excited to have you on today. And I think that people are just going to love the things that you have to share today. And so I so appreciate you joining us.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here. And I'm so excited to be spending this time with you, sharing everything that is meaningful, impactful, and also fun in the process. And I think you already set the stage with my last name being hard as it is. So thank you for correcting it and holding to that pronunciation. I know it's not easy, but hey, who knew how names would be created and what an educational and a lesson learning moment they make us experience. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to fumble there and being so gracious. So thank you so much. And so let me do an introduction to Ajitha. And so she is a renowned executive coach and a leadership strategist with 20 plus years at the intersection of finance and technology. And she fuses coaching, healing, and body awareness to help leaders build emotional and spiritual intelligence through her epic leadership operating system, which is trusted across global organizations and recognized with the Top Executive Coach Award in 2025. And so with that introduction, Ajitha, tell me what I didn't say and tell me what you are working on.
Thank you for that absolutely fabulous introduction. And sometimes when people introduce me in such situations, I'm like, are they really talking about me? But I guess they are. Because when you're in the thick and thin of the journey of becoming, you forget all the stuff that you have experienced and gotten to where you are. So as of now, I'm really excited to share that I am launching into a new offering in a new space. I am starting my role as a strategic advisor to C-suite leaders, especially in helping them remove decision friction that is stalling all their change initiatives and AI adoption initiatives from fully being realized in the organization. And what I've seen in my 20 plus years of being in corporate and in the change management area is it is not lack of execution capability. It is the lack of synchronous decision making and sticking to the decision within the executive C-suite that actually ends up percolating into lack of ability to fully execute. We agree on the face value. I think this is called the Abelin's paradox, where everybody says yes to keep the peace. And when execution time comes, you find that, there's all these friction that wasn't resolved when we thought we had a decision, and we keep revisiting that decision like 20 times. So that's really where I'm stepping in to help the C-suite really tap into more than what's unsaid. The space is filled with heaviness, unexpressed subtleties. And that's where I bring my intuitive intelligence to really help move the energy and gain more understanding and more coherence within the space so that we can move forward as a unified force to get anything done in the organization. So I'm really, really excited about this next foray.
That sounds amazing. And I I feel like almost any organization needs that because there's always friction. And one of the things you and I talked about is that there's also owning your own stuff that's impacting the decisions and the things that you're doing, and also then finding ways to be able to connect with each other. So I could see that any type of organization could need this. So
Yes, I'm really thrilled and excited. I can't wait to see who the first organization is going to be in terms of really saying, yes, we really want to resolve this and we want to bring you in that capacity. So
yeah. So I want to bring up some names, but before I do that, I know you have a guest sort of in the background. And so maybe do a little bit of an introduction as well.
she's my newest baby. She's barely a year old into my household, and she's only a year and a half something. And her name is Velveteen, and she's been an absolute pleasure to bring into my life. She's teaching me more than I have learned through my kids.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love cats. Unfortunately, my husband does not, and we have several friends that are allergic to them. So, so we're not able to have them. But I loved growing up with cats. And so I do want to say hello to some people that are coming up. So I have someone from Germany says hello from Germany. Happy to be here. And so so thank you so much for joining us. We have Miss Kim, who has also said good morning and happy Friday to one of my favorite amazing badass friends. So thank you, Kim, for joining us. We have someone from Ashburn, Virginia. So Erica, so looking forward to this session and to be here with you both and all. And then,
Mariana.
Mariana. Okay, thank you. This is amazing for organizations. Someone who speaks it out from the outside and brings the friction to the surface so it can be dealt with. So, so it sounds like you might be familiar with that need as well. So as you guys are coming in, please say hello and let us know that you're here. I do know that I also have some lurkers that are here as well that continue to sort of, they love watching, and they'll let me know about it after the fact. So if you are so inclined, please say hello as well. Otherwise, continue to lurk. And hope you gain some information today. And so I'd like to go ahead and dive into today's topic. And so today we're going to be talking about mirroring and projection. And I thought that it first might make sense to talk a little bit about what it is. You know, what is mirroring and what is projection, so people can get a little bit of an idea of what the topic is really about. So there were some things in the advertisement, but I thought we might start with defining mirroring first, because that one is the one that I think that most people like the most, because it's in a lot of ways it's about admiration, but I know you have a unique take on mirroring as well. And so I would like to get into that, and then we can circle back around and talk about projection. So when you think of the idea of mirroring, for me, you know, I was thinking of it more in a simple terms of, you know, it's often people reflect back to you who you are or what you believe and what you're ready or not ready to see about yourself. But you had a little bit different thoughts on mirroring. So tell us what your thoughts are.
So I came across the concept of mirroring when I embarked on my personal development and spiritual awakening journey. And the reason I really resonated with it was because I spent over 20 plus years trying to change someone in my absolute close reality and failed miserably at it. And that made me realize that, you know, what if I start to look at every relation in my reality as a mirror to who I am and who I am not? Now, that became the central concept with which I started my entire personal development journey. And when we talk about mirroring, when you think of standing in front of a mirror, you're essentially bringing your image into projection to the mirror. It is your image is projected on the mirror, and then it's reflected back to you. So the word projection and reflection are part of the mirroring process. And the more I dove deep into developing myself, I understood that mirroring could be looked at in three different facets. When I look at myself in the mirror, or in any relationship, I can see the greatness in me, the goodness in me reflected back, right? I call that the part of the mirror that's validating your greatness. Because you're looking for such a validation to say, am I good enough? Am I great? Am I this? So we're looking for that validation. And when it reflects back to say, hey, you're amazing, you did great, then you feel that greatness validated. The second type of reflection or response back from the mirror is when you say something to somebody in a relationship. And the example, I think the post that I made that made us even start off on this podcast had a particular example where an individual does a presentation to a wider audience at workplace. And the boss comes back after the presentation and says, you did amazing on timing. You were spot on this. And that's your validation. You're looking at his feedback as validating what you did right, what went well. And then he starts to say some things about your accent was just weird. Now, let's say that feedback comes in and you're like, I know my accent is fine. This must be his problem that he's projecting onto me. And that I see as the projection mirror, where somebody is projecting something onto you, but you're unfazed by it because you know the truth about who you are. And that is the second type. And then the third situation that can happen in the same interaction is your boss says, you brought up some data in the presentation and that was actually flawed. Now you're like, oh my God, now that hit somewhere, a nerve in you. So I didn't do my due diligence. So there is a resonance to the feedback, which is negative to you. Now, to me, that is reflecting something you've got to work on that bothered you. So that I call the shadow mirror.
Yeah.
The shadow mirror is where most of us don't want to go. And that is the point in which we turn around and say, he always finds faults with whatever I do. I know I was right. My data was right. He had no clue. Right now, what we're doing is we are turning something that actually requires us to do the work and saying, no, this is your projection. No. That's not how it works. This is the subtle difference between projection mirror and shadow mirror. In projection mirror, when somebody says something, when it doesn't bother you, you truly understand that it's their projection, not yours.
Yeah.
But when something bothers you, and the bothering is known through your resonance to it. Resonance doesn't mean it has to, be positive. The fact that it bothers you, there is a resonance to what is being said. And that is where the real work is. And most of us don't yet have the awareness. And even if we have the awareness, we don't necessarily have the courage to go deep within and say, okay, that really hurt me. But why did it hurt me? Because I've given some power to what is being said to be resonant to me. That means there's something in me that needs introspection, reflection. Yeah. And that is where the real deep work is for us to change how we are feeling about ourselves, because when that hits a nerve, it's actually reminding us of some work we ought to do within ourselves. So I know. So when you think about mirroring, there are so many things we could look at in every relationship around us to say, okay, this one I like, so I'm going to take it as my brownie points. This one didn't bother me. That's their problem. This one bothered me. Now it's my problem, right? That is the beauty of the concept of mirroring, which truly elevates you to a different level.
Yeah. I want to dig in a little bit deeper onto those before we jump over to projection. And so a lot of times you'll see someone and you'll be attracted to them, and you might say, oh man, I love how confident you are, or I love your energy. And as I started to think about mirroring, it's really realizing that what you really love is how you feel about yourself in the presence of that person. So maybe they make you feel more alive or more honest or more free. But it's really just mirror showing you a version of yourself that you're proud of, or that maybe you have a deep desire to become. And one of the things that I found is that mirroring is just showing you what is already there. But when you add the additional things that you said as well, it's also when you get that type of feedback on how you react to it, it's something that's there that you need to pay attention to as well. And one of the things we do, even a part of our company, is we ask for feedback from clients. And recently, one of my employees got a really negative review from someone. And as I started to look at that, someone else was like, oh, this person is blah, blah, blah. But as I started to reflect upon it, I was like, well, okay, let's look at what it is that they're saying, and let's not just immediately throw it away. Let's evaluate what this person is saying and how it is that we could potentially do something better, because that's really the purpose of feedback. So there's something there, but that also could be that person, sometimes it could also be about that person. So I want to point out that mirroring sometimes is also, that person giving negative reviews might be something also about them too. But we do also need to take time to evaluate that self-awareness, and also the contemplation of what it is that's being said as well.
Yeah. And the truth is, we have no way, nor do we have the responsibility to control the feedback giver and their work that they ought to do. That's none of our business. But often we end up, shunning the feedback because it is hitting a very deep inner child within us, right?
Yeah.
That deep inner aspect within us doesn't like to be said, you suck at this. No, I don't want to even hear it, because I probably heard this 20 times when I was growing up as a child, here over and over. Now, you don't remind me of my mom. Don't remind me of how my dad treated me, because I don't want to deal with that stuff. It's like the easiest place, because again, when you think of your psyche, your subconscious is wired to make sure you're surviving. Its primary job is to ensure you survive. So if anything comes as a threat to your survival, the first thing we do is to know, I don't want to deal with this. That's not true. That's bullshit, right? Excuse my language, but that's just how we react.
We have the word badass in our name, so it's all good.
So the react is basically us reacting the same thing because we are not yet ready to see the truth in it for us to evolve. And that is the best thing I have done for my own growth is I have no control over anybody other than me. That is the truth I have taken to be a gospel. That is so true for me. And there's no way I'm changing that, because the minute I say that I have control over something outside of me, I'm wasting my energy on trying to fix something on the outside, when I could very well be looking at changing my own perspective about it, because that's where all the freedom and the liberation is.
Yeah, I love that. I do want to say hello to Miss Carmen. She's saying good morning, my favorite beautiful badass. Happy Friday. So glad you're here today. I'm also going to go back up to Erica. She said lucky C-suite executives and the organizations where they work to benefit from Ajitha's abundance of knowledge, wisdom, mentorship, and skills to bring them to life in others. So thank you for that, Erica. And then also Lisa is joining us today as well. She says, happy Friday, badasses. So, even just people. So as I start to think about the mirroring, like people saying, I know the show, is about, bringing out your badass self, but people that resonate with being a badass and bringing out their badass self, that to me is also a mirroring, like, I want to be a badass. And also, funny enough, I had an aunt who didn't like the word badass. She was like, you need to rename your show. And I was just like, but for me, bringing out badass was a different word. And it was really about finding internally the things that you're hiding and the things that you're not allowing yourself to be your fearless, authentic self. So for me, it was about the vulnerability. So it was about the weakness side of getting into yourself, not the, hey, I'm, going to kick your butt type of badass. And so it was just interesting to see how different people reacted.
Right there is an example of mirroring and projection.
Yes.
Right. So because I was watching this Korean drama called Can This Love Be Translated? And it's about an interpreter who does translation for the main lead. And in there, the guy asks his mentor a question, how do I understand this person? And the mentor says, do you know how many languages there are in the world? And this guy brings out like a 2,000, 6,000, whatever number, like the real number of languages. Yeah. And the mentor says, no, there are as many languages as there are number of people in this world.
Wow.
Can you just ponder on that for a moment? Because the interpretation of a word is driven completely by an individual's perception of that particular word based on their journey, their culture, their conditioning, their meaning making, their mental model, like a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
So I think when you've named your show as Bring Out Your Badass Self, it is that badass self that truly says, I get to embody my truth, who I am, without needing to worry about how others are perceiving it, because I have zero control over other people's perception. But if somebody's perception bothers me, heck yeah, I'm going to sit and going to really do some work about that, because that's where the true power and shift and transformation is.
I love that. That's, so much of exactly what the show, as we continue on, is going to be about. It's a great example. As we start to look at projections, so you started to touch upon it. I want to talk, we've sort of talked about it just a little bit, but maybe adding a little bit more definition to the projection. For me, you talked about the mirroring and the reflection that you get. And I was sort of equating projection almost as like a movie. So it's the movie plays but you're playing it onto someone else. And so I was curious how you would define projection.
So if you to go back to the 3 validation, projection, and shadow mirror concepts that I just started with the explanation on, when somebody says something and your shadow rejects it, right? When somebody gives you a feedback and you reject it, now you're going to project your rejection back onto them. So the simplest way I see projection is anytime we see something outside of us as a problem. That's as simple as that. Anytime we are making someone else as the problem for your situation, your feelings, your reactions, your emotions, your thoughts, you're literally externalizing the problem. That means you are making your problem as somebody else's.
Yep.
And so that is projection.
So your mind is basically projecting it onto someone else, and you're making it about them, but instead it's really about you.
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
So it's those things we don't really want to admit or own sometimes as well. And as we started to think about those things, I mean, a lot of times it can be really uncomfortable because it could be dealing with our fears or the trauma that we've dealt with in the past, or it could bring up anger or insecurity or jealousy or things like that. But it's really that uncomfortableness that we feel. And as I started to think about these types of things, so someone might call someone, arrogant or rude or, something along those lines. So even if we just looked at, arrogant, for example, like what is that actually saying about that person or recognizing? So maybe let's just take that as an example. Let's say that you say that someone is arrogant. How is that then reflecting back actually on you?
Yeah, great question, right? We won't ever recognize something until we have a resonance to it. I keep coming back to the word resonance for a very good reason. I work a lot in the energy aspect. Like I literally look at the entire world around us as energy, because everything is energy, right? And so when everything is energy, you and I are energy. What makes one energy attract or repel from another? It is simply the frequency in which that energy is vibrating in. And so when you think about it from an energy perspective, we've got somebody who looks at some other person who is also vibrating at a frequency, and then is recognizing a trait in that person, which is also a frequency. Yeah. So I am looking at somebody and saying, you are arrogant. There has to be something in me that is resonating with the frequency of arrogance for me to even recognize it. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be like it will go above my head. It will be like, poof, gone. I don't even sense it because I'm not in the same frequency of recognizing it. Mm-hmm. So anytime we are, and what you're referencing is essentially the word judgment. Mm-hmm. When we are judging somebody as arrogant, we are revealing an unhealed part of ourselves. Judgment is the place where all unhealed aspects reside. And this has been, I will say, I've been on this journey for like 11 years, more than 11 years now. And I can say that there is a very deep level of self-awareness one has to be in to truly see where we are judging somebody, to then capture that awareness and say, okay, there it is, an unhealed part of me that is judging somebody else. Why? Because we only judge somebody when we are unable to fully accept and love ourselves. We will not judge somebody when we have learned to love and accept ourselves. Because when we have learned to love and accept ourselves fully, there is no way we're going to say somebody's right or wrong, because we don't know their journey. Right. Who are we to say something is right or wrong about somebody else's life when we have not walked their path?
That can be really hard to do.
That is where the growth is, right? Leadership is about growth. It is always being at the edge of something that you are uncomfortable about. Mm-hmm. And so it again, so let me capture that word. It is hard. I'm a firm believer that you are what you believe. We have been conditioned to believe that these things have to be hard. What if it is not hard and it's a matter of you deciding, one decision to say, you're not deciding not to judge. Simply decide to observe your own judgment. That is a big leap in itself.
Yeah.
It's not, just observe. Say, I am deciding today from this very moment to start observing, where am I judging? Who am I judging? What does it reveal about me? I'm simply going to observe. Yeah. I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to shame myself about it. That's not the point. Then you're defeating the whole purpose, right?
Yes.
So the whole idea is to be an observer enough to then be able to accept that part of you, to say, yep, here you are, the unhealed inner part of me. I see you judging, and I'm going to love you through this, because love is where the transmutation and transformation and the shift resides, not in shaming, not in pushing, not in denying, not in shoving it aside, because then we are defeating the whole purpose.
Yep. I love that, because it really is about observing. Because when I start to project things on other people, and I've learned to go, okay, stop, so a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll meditate, and I'll feel like where it is in my body sometimes, like where is my body tightening, or what images are coming to light. And a lot of times it really has to do with like the path that I'm really supposed to be possibly taking, or it has to do with an unhealed wound from the past. Yes. So the moment we release and say, okay, when I'm feeling triggered or irritated or frustrated or whatever it might be in that judgment, how can I reflect upon myself versus trying to change the other person?
Yes. And it's fascinating for me, the timing of this podcast, because I'm literally walking out after 11 years in a relationship that actually woke me to this whole personal development path. And all these 11 years, it was not until 48 hours ago, I had this complete realization that how much I was judging that other person through that entire journey, while I was sitting in the spiritual high horse to say, I'm going through my awakening, I'm doing all the healing, I'm doing all this work, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then to only look back after I ended that relationship, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, this person has been such a beautiful mirror of this deep, unhealed inner child that was abandoned or felt abandoned as a child. Yeah. That is the core wound that I'm navigating to really learn how to fully love and accept, right? The wound of abandonment and rejection. And this person has been such a beautiful mirror, standing strong all through 11 years, simply showing me again and again and again where the real work was. And I was completely blind to it. And I was just blaming, judging, externalizing. This is the one relationship that was a complete contrast to all the journey I've been on, where everybody else saw me as someone who was completely very wise, very experienced, everything. But I was a complete child in front of this relationship, because that's one relationship where my inner child showed up over and over and over and again and wanted to be accepted and loved and chosen. And that relationship stood its place and said, no, I'm not choosing you because you bloody well choose yourself. That's what I'm here for. And it was not until I completed that relationship, literally 3 days ago, that this entire awareness came into my full being and said, Now you choose yourself. Now you love yourself. Now you know that inner child requires you to be the parent, not somebody outside.
Yeah.
And so there's no better place to explain this journey of mine, because this is where I was projecting. So I think I'm being asked to share this example because we tend to think that we are the same with every relationship and our projection is everywhere. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
For me, it was this one relationship that truly tested me to the hilt. And that's the place where I was constantly projecting and judging. It was not easy, but it is the very thing I needed as a leader to truly learn where my deepest wound was, to alchemize, to shift, and to heal, and to accept, and to love, so that now when I show up in the world, I'm fully aware. She's not gone anywhere. I call her the little Aji. Okay, that's my cute name for her. And I see her, and I now know her, and I know how to help her before she no longer gets the driver's seat in my life. That's decided. Not in any relationship. But I know she's there, and I get to cuddle her and, take care of her and not let her project onto anybody else. So that's the awareness shift. So I have not fixed anything on the outside. It's just me shifting deep awareness within me that has changed everything.
Yeah. Wow. When you were going through that, and I wasn't positive on whether you were saying like ending it or if this person was saying.
I chose it, and the person accepted it very gracefully.
Nice.
And because I think this is the beauty, right? On a very higher level, we both knew that there was that things were unhealthy because of the dynamics. And so the best way to move forward would be to actually disengage, and allow for me to heal fully. Well, all the work has been done, but it hadn't fully dropped down into my body until now.
Yeah.
And it was not until my nervous system felt safe. This is a very important aspect for leadership, right?
Yes.
The reason it's not that I didn't try to get out of that relationship over the last 11 years. I've tried it almost 10 times every year. That's 110 times. Okay. I've tried to get out of it 110 times in the last 11 years, but I didn't succeed in it because my nervous system was still seeking that support. I didn't feel safe to leave, nor did I feel safe on my own. The nervous system was so coded to be triggered and to be dysregulated in the absence of such a dynamic. And it was not until I truly learned how to regulate my nervous system that I felt safe to say, okay, now this no longer feels healthy for me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm better off away than with, right? That is the point of shift. And so once that awareness came, and that then both of us were able to gracefully say, yes, this is the best thing for both of us. So let's move our different ways. And I don't think I truly don't think I was ready for it until now. And so and this is the part I want to offer to people, right? The whole idea of projection mirror and describing this concept that you get to work on yourself and not fix the world outside is not about you starting to be hard on yourself and beat yourself up and be ashamed of who you are. That's not the point. It's really about becoming so self-aware to truly trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be at this point. And as you continue to become more and more self-aware, there'll be that point of complete shift that happens for you, that you can say, yeah, now this is no longer me. This is the new me. And you got to have enough trust and patience in the process, and not shame yourself through it, not rush yourself through it, but to trust the process, to know that this will happen, but you just got to persist.
Yeah. And I think the other part of it is knowing what you really need for yourself, and also being okay with the uncomfortability that others might have as well with that decision, because sometimes that can keep you from moving forward, because you're like, oh, but what will happen, to this other person if I do this, and things like that. So I think it can be that as well. And it's understanding that you need to do what you need to do, where the universe and where your path is taking you, knowing that there might be some uncomfortability on the other side, and but that's for them to own.
Actually, so no better timing than this to explain, because I've lived through this in the last 6 to 8 months, right? Last August, I shut down the women's mastermind I was running for over 2 years. And then there are many relationships that I've closed as well. The thing that truly made me feel at peace with making those decisions of letting go was understanding that what is right for me when it comes to a relationship that I'm making as a choice is also right for them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not me being in the high horse and saying, oh, what's right for me is right for you. No, it's not that. It's
Right.
truly understanding that if I am making a choice out of love for myself to disconnect or disengage or to discontinue something,
Yeah.
it is truly on a much higher level, not on the human level. The human is going to bitch and moan, excuse my French. The human's going to put up a fight. It's going to throw tantrum. It's going to bitch, moan, and cry and make a show out of it. But on a deeper, higher, wiser part of both aspects of you and the others, know that it's time for the dynamics to change. It's time for something to change because something has completed its logical completion. The reason so many of us are in misery is because we are thinking that things are forever. Everything is forever. The truth is, nothing in life lasts forever. Everything is transient. And when we truly can appreciate and accept that fact that, okay, something has served its purpose, like this 11-year-long relationship, it has been the most beautiful experience that I could have ever had. Is my human saying that? Heck no. The human is screaming, it's screaming, it's wailing and rolling on the floor when possible. But the deeper, wiser part of me says, exactly what I needed was that for that very period to be who I am right now. I wouldn't trade that for anything else. And to say now, okay, now it's reached its completion. So now that I'm making a choice to leave, when I'm making this choice to leave, it's also the best for the others. And this is exactly what I told myself when I've never discontinued any business offering before it was formally complete. But I did that in August because deep down I knew my choosing to stop that is also the best thing for my clients, because they're going to find somebody else who's more aligned for where they are going than with me. Now that takes courage, that takes acceptance, that takes boldness. And guess what? You cannot be a leader if you're not willing to be bold. If you cannot be a leader if you're not willing to be brave. There's no other way. If you want to be a leader, it's a choice. No, and everybody doesn't need to be a leader. You can be comfortable where you are, and there is no judgment in that.
Right.
I want to be a leader. I am a leader. I'm going to be the biggest badass leader that this world is ever going to be seeing. At my age, with my background, I'm going to be that person. I've decided that. Now, if I'm going to do that, then I can't be playing it small. I can't be taking safe bets. I've got to make big, bold moves. I'm going to have to take big risks. And that comes with a price.
You are preaching to the choir.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure those who are listening are going the same. Like,
well, I love it. Even when you think about, people in your life, for example. So, and I'll share that I have over the past several years, one would think that your mother would not be someone that you would remove from your life. Like people, judge you on doing that. And I can do it in love. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is that I love my mother. Like my mother has done so much for me. She has made me who I am today in a lot of ways. And I also know that right now, where she's at in her life and the things that she still hasn't dealt with, I don't want the projection, or I don't want to continue to feel the hurt that I feel when I'm with her, which is also things that I've been reflecting upon as well, in why is it that those things bother me in the things that she sometimes says as well. So for me, I was like, look, for me, we both need to sort of go our own way to sit and reflect and really understand the healing that we both need to do and go through because of the experiences. And I think that, the mother wound is one of those things that is very much projection and mirroring, because you mirror your mother so much growing up. And then you also have to figure out who you are as a person as well. And then, a part of that, I think the biggest thing is people need to understand that no parent is perfect. Every parent's going to do something that's going to screw up their child. Let's just, but it's also knowing what you need to own as a parent in that as well. And so whenever I think about projection and mirroring, it also very much reflects to not only, the people that you marry or the people that you see and you interact with, but very much also with the people that raised you, and the reflection in how it is that they influenced you as you grew.
Without a question. And I think you're bringing up a very important point to reflect and share here is, when you are wounded in any form, in any cause irrelevant, but the fact that you have a wound to work on within you, there comes a point in time where you have to decide to not expose yourself to that wound again and again, because the wound can only heal when you step away and allow time for it to heal. Think of physical wound, right? If you keep poking that physical wound, it's not going to heal.
Right.
So you want to remove yourself from an environment that has caused that wound, so that you give adequate time, space, love, and energy for it to heal. And then maybe when you come back, should you come back, it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And in many ways, for me, now that I'm saying this, the 11-year-long relationship that I talked about, the point of now complete separation is also from that perspective, because now I have learned the key wound in me that has come to a certain level of healing, that I no longer want to put myself in that space to keep getting poked by any means. Don't even want to give it a chance, because I've realized that it has healed enough now. When I step away, it's going to fully heal. So should there be an interaction later on, if it were meant to be, it would not be the same dynamic anymore, because I have changed, not because I fixed somebody or changed somebody outside, because I have changed.
Right. I love that. And it really is about you growing, you healing. It has nothing to do with the other individuals, although they may, whoever those people are, they might think, oh, this is about me. When in actuality, no, it's really just about you and the decisions that you're wanting for your life. I start to think about, even from a business perspective, for example, I've had individuals that have left the company and then ended up coming back. And I think because of how I handled those situations, like I wanted the best for those people. And I was like, good for you, like I was proud of them, and yes, I also wanted them to stay as well. But it's almost like that parent that sometimes you got to let people fly. You got to let them go from the nest and go experience things. And then that, as you mentioned, the dynamic, then when they come back has changed. Like sometimes it was things in their life that kept them from really being able to work with us at that time. But when you embrace someone and allow them and give them the freedom to leave and move, sometimes they'll reflect back and go, oh, oh, well, maybe, let's give it another chance, sometimes. And other times they might be like, nope, I was better off, going this other direction. So I think it's goes to one of the things you and I talked about backstage. It also has to do with attachment and releasing that attachment of wanting that person to stay with you. And I think that leaders make this mistake all the time. Like, you can't go on LinkedIn because, oh, you're just looking for a job. It's like, okay, well, yeah, they might be looking for a job. What are you doing to try to help and keep them? Maybe reflect upon that versus, trying to control them.
Yes. And you said a few things. I want to quickly finish off that. Letting people go and seeing if they come back. I think there's a saying that says, when you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was, right? Yeah. And to do that, to let people free or set people free, you're talking about a very important aspect of what keeps, in my own case, the 3 relationships, I think I mentioned that backstage, but I'll say it here. In the last 3 weeks, I've concluded 3 long-term relationships. One was 8 years long professional, another 11 years long personal, and another 7 years long professional. Now, each one of these I had to let go because of the awareness that I was attached to them from a place of fear. So when you talk about leaders holding on to their people or judging their people for posting on LinkedIn or being on LinkedIn, etc., that is their insecure part that is attached to their people behaving a certain way because they are feeling unsafe about what would happen, right?
Yep.
And there's a lot of inner narratives that are meaning making that's happening within the leader that they feel so insecure to not make certain things happen or wanting to hold on.
Yep.
And in letting go of the 3 long-term relationships in just 3 weeks so far, what I have understood is this: the only reason we hold on to anything in our lives is because of fear of losing them. And fear of losing them is tied to us wanting them, which is attachment. And when you're holding on to something from a place of fear, you are not growing, period. Anytime you're holding on to something from a place of fear, you are not growing.
Yeah.
And that is where your leadership growth gets stalled. Because when, like, I have made a very bold declaration coming into 2026 as to who I am as a new identity. And that identity cannot be embodied by me if I'm still holding on to these 3 relationships that are out of fear. The new identity says, girl, you better embody your new version in a way that you're actually going to be getting into relationships from a place of love and expansion. That's it. That's the energy you're going in with: love, service, expansion. If these are not the energy with which you're getting into a relationship, then you are not serving anybody, not you, not them.
Yeah.
And again, what I've also understood is the reason I was holding on to these 3 relationships was because one was providing nervous system regulation, one was providing emotional safety, another was providing financial stability. So all these 3 were because I felt as that version of me, that was the old version of me, could not feel safe without these 3 in my reality. Because they were providing something to me for me to stay stable. But it was not until I said I am stable, I figured a way to stabilize myself from within, that I could say, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. You've been great in my relation, in my life. I am grateful and I'm thankful and I'm here, but I'm not going to engage with you in the old version of me. I can partner with you in the new version of me, but not in the old version of me. That is the difference. People think, actually, somebody asked me this question. I was going to respond to it on Instagram, which is, do you mean to say that every time we choose ourselves, there is a cost or a price we pay in the form of losing something? And I said, it depends, because if you're holding on to something from a place of fear, and your new level of identity, which is you stepping into that new self, is going to require for you to be someone different, then you're going to have to assess all these relationships that you have and see which ones are held from a place of love and which ones are from a place of fear, because the new identity says this new identity doesn't hold on to anything from a place of fear.
Right.
And letting go in that sense is truly being grateful and understanding. I used a very particular word. I said concluding. I didn't say I'm ending.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm severing. I'm saying I'm concluding, because it served a purpose where I had to learn a lesson and I have embodied it. And now, the next time if we were to come together in any of these 3 relationships, it would be from the new version of me, from a new frequency and energy of love and expansion, where I will bring something great and they may bring something great, and we may hit it off right away.
Yeah.
But the reason we don't let go is because we are fearful. And fear, to me, is the biggest barrier in leadership. You cannot lead if you're driven by fear. You just cannot. You can only lead to the extent you are fearful.
Fear of losing equals attachment.
Yeah, that is it. You got it, Mariana. You get it.
I love it. This is one of the things and that's why with my show, I focus on fearless authenticity. It's about understanding who you are and not worrying about the judgment of others. It's proceeding forward in who you are and how it is that you need to grow. And as you talked about, I loved that. It was service, love, and what was the third?
Expansion.
I love that, because that's what I want in my life. And I continue to move forward in in that way of, I'm, yes, I want the best for everyone else. I want the best in, whatever is going on in my life. And, it's funny, as I've been talking with, I meet with a depth psychologist, and as I was talking with her, like about my husband, for example, my husband, we both very much love each other. There's a lot of things that we provide to each other and things like that, but I'm continuing to expand. And, my husband is a little bit more of a status quo type person. And so, I was like, look, like I'm continuing to expand as a person, and I want you along the journey. I also know that I'm going to continue, to go down my path. And, I want to know if you're going to be, alongside with me, in these types of things, because as you start to grow as a person, the people that surround you might not be the right type of people to continue to grow. So it's looking at those types of things and understanding that it's not about anybody else. It's about you and you doing the things that you need to do. And even whenever I entered my relationship with my husband, I was at a point where I was like, I don't need a man, but I want someone, I want a partner. And so that's how I entered the relationship as well. And those are things that I'm just reflecting upon myself. And as you said, it's being bold, it's being brave, it's doing the unknown, it's doing the scary, it's doing the risky, that a lot of times people don't necessarily feel comfortable with as well.
Yeah, because getting into the unknown is what most leaders today are afraid of. The unknown. They don't want to deal with uncertainty. They don't want to deal with complexity. As complex as our world is right now, as uncertain as it is right now with the AI acceleration, as unknown as things are, this is when leadership is most required, because you're not going to get a playbook, my friends. Nobody is getting a playbook for what we are getting into or what we were already in, right? There's no playbook. And so this is the fear of getting into the unknown, or fear of the unknown, is what is preventing so many of us who are magnificent leaders from not shining our light. And guess what? Unknown is the place of possibilities, infinite possibilities. So if you're afraid of the unknown, you are also limiting your possibilities.
Yeah.
So how can you lead when you are not open to possibilities? A leader by default is someone who's open to infinite possibilities, because the leader leads with the knowing that there is something larger guiding them. Now, there's something that came to that I want to share. You talked about why people don't let go is because there is also this need to belong, right? There's such a strong, deep wiring for us as a human species to belong.
Yeah.
And fear of judgment is not irrational. It's very real for a lot of us. It was for me, is because we want to be accepted. We want to belong in a community. We want to be loved by other people. It is a very human basic need to have that sense of belonging. And when that gets threatened, you're like, okay, if I do something that's completely, completely revolutionary, people are going to ostracize me. I'm going to be an outlier. And who's going to love me? Where do I belong in this, right? Now, that is a very real fear for a lot of us as leaders. And I'll tell you how I have overcome it. And I've overcome it over the last 11 years, 10 years. My journey is this. I am now deeply connected to a source within me. And this is where we step into this energetic spiritual space.
Yep.
When you know you belong in the love of something larger than you, you no longer expect and wait for it to come from outside of you. Right. You have to find that anchor from within you. And it is within you because we are all energy. We are created from the same energy source. Call it whatever in your nomenclature lingo. We are from the same energy. We're all fragments of the same energy. And that energy that created this wonderful multiverse, universe, nature, mountains, sun, moon, is also created you. And when you remember that truth and really feel that love, that presence from within, that gives you a deeper sense of belonging to the entire cosmos. Forget about just human species. You belong in the whole cosmos, and you have a very unique space in the whole puzzle of this cosmos. You and only you can fill that space in the cosmos. And when you understand that's how beautifully designed you are, that is how beautifully orchestrated you as a being is, You stop expecting to belong from outside. You belong from within who you are. Only when you hit that awareness that you truly can say, you know what? And there's only one thing guiding me right now in my entire existence. It is the source, the infinite wisdom, the guidance that comes from within. Yeah. I've had some miraculous conversations and downloads and information given to me that I have executed on, that has taken me on to a whole new level of experience that I would not have had if I limited myself to my logical, analytical, brain-powered human thinking. Heck no.
Yep.
So this is the part I feel, this is where I feel leadership today and leadership development courses, programs, trainings are so falling short on. This is what I dream to bring to this world, is leadership where you lead from the source within. Because then you're not governed by the fads outside, the trends outside, what's trending, what's next, when you're not looking at competition, because there is no freaking competition. It's created by you, humans. What if you as a leader leading a large organization is supposed to bring an impact into this world that only you and your team can bring? And you're not even paying attention to it because you're so focused on the outside fads. Go within, find that truth. What am I here to bring to this world? Source from within and lead through that. The world doesn't matter because you are uniquely designed and orchestrated to bring that impact into this world. How do you find it if you're so lost in the noise and distraction of the outside world? You cannot.
I just want to sort of sit in what you said because it's so just lovely. I am going to pull up. So they provided a quote back on what you said. There's no playbook and the unknown equals opportunities. Great quote. This is one of the things that I've been told is that when there's a challenge, how, Sarah, are you able to find an opportunity out of that? Like when it's chaos and people are like, I can't believe this was done to us, you know, and I'm like, oh, so, okay, well, let's go do this. Like, oh, I see this as an opportunity. Like, look at the possibilities in things. And so when we close ourselves off to focusing on how things are not going the way that we want, and we're not open to the possibilities of where the other paths we might take, then, as you said, that logic, and we would never have come to those decisions had we not sit with ourselves and said, okay, you know, all right, universe, you're wanting me to go down a different path, or you're wanting me to, you know, just go, okay, you know, all right, I submit, you know, like, you know, I will, you know, whatever path you're wanting me to go down. And that's so hard for us because we want to control everything.
Yes.
And in actuality, it's like, no, this is the type of person I am. I'm going to celebrate who I am, you know, those types of things. I think that that's super powerful. I do want to also pull this one up. This is powerful. I love the reminder that you cannot lead when you are driven by fear. Fear shrinks vision and limits courage. Amazing wisdom for C-levels and for anyone committed to growth and development. And then you just got some parts, you know, like,
so. I love that. So two things that came through. I think you used the word submit, but actually I want to use a more powerful word, which is surrender. And there is some deep misconception that when you surrender, we're actually giving up, which was what I used to think it was. But now that I have had to let go of some very important relationships and lose a lot in the last 10 years through my personal development journey, what I have truly come to understand is this. When you surrender, what you're surrendering is your ego, logic-driven mind that is so limited. You're surrendering that in return for something that is much more intuitive, deeper, and wiser, that can then give you the answers. And that is different from giving up. That is different from throwing in the towel. Surrender is not the white flag that we wave in our human experience. Surrender is deeply saying that there is a deeper, wiser part within me that truly knows the answers, but I can only access it when I'm able to let go of my insisting to control the outcome, the insistence to know all the 20-page project plan that I need for this outcome to come through, right? That insistence and that control, when you surrender that, is when you're able to really arrive at this, I would say, the best, shortest, happiest path to the outcome. And that is, again, a quality of leadership. Surrendering and leadership, I've not actually ever heard the two put together ever. So maybe this is the first time we're going to bring it into awareness, that true leadership involves knowing when to surrender, how to surrender to a deeper, wiser part within you that allows for the answers to come through. And the second thing that came through as you were talking is this: the world is in a very, very chaotic place today. There is such division, and there is such polarization, there is such duality right now that we're experiencing, that, and I see that, and I have a very different perspective. What you will see in most people's, LinkedIn posts and polarization is somebody claiming something is extremely wrong, or the other claiming that something is absolutely right. Now, what you're seeing play out is the duality of the nature of our existence playing out. Now, you cannot, and you will not, as a species, solve this problem by taking polar opposite ends. You just can't.
Yeah.
And the way I see why this is happening is this very chaos is what is required for us as a species, as humans, to stop looking outside and fixing the problem outside, to say, okay, what can I do in the inside? Because just imagine if each one of us truly took responsibility for how we feel, what we perceive, what our perspectives are, what our beliefs are, what our thoughts are, what our perceptions are, what our stories are, what our narratives are. If we truly took responsibility and said, you know what, this is stuff that I truly can control because it's me. I don't have to ask anybody outside of me. I decide who I am, what I'm creating in my reality, how I'm perceiving my reality, what perspectives I'm putting out there, what narratives I'm telling myself, what stories, what beliefs, what thoughts, what actions, what behaviors. Boy, that is just 10 things I rattled out that is so in my control that can change extremely everything in my reality. How many of us are willing to do that today?
Yeah.
That requires for us to just shut the F up and sit with ourselves. Truly, it requires us to really sit with ourselves. Not easy, but hey, so many of us are doing it. I can proudly say I've done it for the last 11 years without fail. I mean, I say without exception, but I've failed miserably many times. Let's just put it that way. I've failed significantly many times. And that failure also has taught me to hold compassion and love for myself, to say, okay, Aji or Ajitha, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Part of the process. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to wail. It's okay to bitch and moan and cry and rage. Fine. Come back to yourself again. Let's do the work again. Let's do the work again. Let's do the work again, because that's truly where the work is.
Yeah. So juicy. So good. It's all about us, and that's why I did this year as awakening the inner part of us, because that's where I really feel like I'm wholeheartedly with you in. That is where the future is going, is that I do believe that people will start to do that inner reflection, or they're going to need to.
Yes.
It might be pushed upon them.
I would say they'll be pushed to, because there's no other option. Because now you can see how chaotic the outside is. You can't fix it. The more you feed that external chaos, the more you find yourself dysregulated nervous system wise, stressed, and really in a place of not being able to create anything.
Yeah.
And when a world is so divided, leaders, and I keep talking about this, the leaders who are here to claim their leadership role are here to create something new. And when you want to create something new, you can be divided. You can be caught in the chaos that's happening right now, because then you're part of what is being created as chaos. To create something new, you got to focus something outside of the chaos that exists, which means you're going to have to anchor in something deeper within you. Now, nothing outside of you is going to give you the answer. The answer is already within you. But the frequency at which you will access it is through surrender of your logical, egotistic mind. And when you go deep within, the answer comes up and say, okay, this is what I'm here to create. So let me follow this path. That is where the leadership of the now is happening. It's really unfolding as I speak, because I know I'm part of that movement of that new creation to be birthed and brought into this world. And we cannot be creating the new if we are caught up in the old. We just can't.
Yeah. It's all about being in alignment with the people that you surround yourself with, and allowing, that energy that you get when, it's almost like that newness of whenever you're first starting to date someone and you think about the possibilities. Like, that's what I think co-creation is really all about. It's that you're able to go off of each other and help to just bring that energy, that excitement. And sometimes it's just a knowing. It is sometimes calm of moving forward and just knowing you can rely upon, the different people for their strengths in what it is that you're wanting to be able to just move forward. And so I love that. So
on that, let me just say this quickly that's coming through is this. To be able to attract the people that are supporting you in this new level requires for you to be vibrating at that frequency of your new level. And this is exactly what I'm experiencing right now. If I didn't let go of these 3 relationships, I'm not making space for the new to come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to be in the frequency of creating the new as a leader, I have to be able to make space for these new relationships that are more in alignment with where I'm headed, what I'm here to create, need to show up. But if I'm, just as an example, if I'm already married to something, not someone, but married to something, and the new thing that is coming in requires to take that place, how is it going to take that place if I'm already married to something? You've got to disconnect from it to be able to bring that newness in. This is where most leaders are struggling, is they can't see what the new is because it's not here yet. That new relationship is not here yet because the relationship is waiting on you to make the decision. How will it know you made the decision? You got to let the old go. But I'm not letting the old go because I'm so attached to it. You see the paradox and the quandary we are in? This is why the leadership of now requires the fearlessness to be able to let go.
Yes. There is no competition. You are creating it. What am I here to bring from within? And this is the strength of the leader, so powerful. I love also, I do want to circle back to this that you were talking about. And one of the philosophies that I've always had is that I'm not going to worry about, the competition. What is it that we're doing? What is it we're focused on? Yes, I'm going to pay attention and see what type of creative things might come and be influenced, or, those types of things. But the more you focus on what others are doing, or, the competition, the more you're not focused on what it is that you're really doing. And so I loved, that they brought this back around, is that there really is no competition. And a lot of times I will do that in our own ecosystem. I'll share with other people because I'm looking at it as elevating the overall industry, versus thinking, oh, this person's going to take my idea, or, things like that. So I think that, the co-creating and also just looking at it as serving, as you said, serving, loving, expanding, the more that we help each other in that realm, the more that we all can expand. But when we're stuck in a fear of, oh, well, I don't want this for this person, you're now limiting your possibilities as well.
Yeah. And think about Uber, think about iPad. These products and these services didn't look at competition before they showed up. These were one of a kind, first of a kind, right? And so we are entering an era where, especially because of AI adoption and acceleration, we're all going to have to look within and ask, what is my genius? What's my genius that is ready to be birthed into this world? Because when you plant an acorn, it's going to become an oak tree. Unfortunately, we humans thought everybody needs to become an engineer, doctor, or a lawyer, and all other or a software engineer, software. So otherwise, everything else is not worthy, not good enough, right? That's the programming. But truly, each of us as leaders here are coded for what we are to bring to life into this planet, especially now, as the larger setups are going to dismantle here in a few years. The ground level, all of us supporting each other in a community-based setting with our zones of geniuses to be offered to this world as a gift and through as a business service or a product is what's coming through. And to me, focusing on competition means where your energy, where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you're going to focus on your competition, that's where you're sending your energy. Would you rather not send your energy within and ask, okay, what's the unique genius gift that I'm here to birth to bring humongous transformation into this world? I would rather spend my energy there because that's unique. And I know it's mine. It's like I talk about, right? There's a particular piece in a big, massive puzzle that only you can fill. That's how we are designed. That's how we are designed. We each are filling a beautiful, unique shaped puzzle piece in a cosmos puzzle. Instead, we are trying to fit in somebody else's slot. Where can I fit? Where can I fit? I look at my competition is there, so I'll go fit over there. No, that's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to know that you're a unique piece of puzzle with the zone of genius that's uniquely yours, with stuff that is uniquely yours to bring. Find that spot and go sit there, because then you have fulfilled your purpose.
Yeah. I love that. So I want to start to wrap things up. And as I started to think about all of the different things that we've talked about, it's ultimately about, for me, going inward, figuring out what makes you, as you said, uniquely you, and then surrounding yourself with the people that help to elevate you and understand the things that make you uniquely you, and you understand what makes them uniquely them. That's when, for me, we really start to create and we start to continue to elevate. But it's understanding, when we go back to what we're talking about, it's owning that projection. It's understanding the things, the mirrors that we see, the things we want for ourselves, that maybe we've suppressed, or we were told, we were conditioned that this wasn't acceptable, whatever that is. Yeah. And so sometimes that comes through projection, sometimes that comes through mirroring. So sometimes we might see admiration, or we might see something that we love about people, and really we're saying, I want that for me. My soul is saying, I'm that too. And then other times it's the projection that we sometimes see, and it's that looking back on, okay, well, what about my life as I grew up made me feel this particular way, or how is it that it impacted me that I need to spend some time sort of healing. And so I want to have you sort of finish things off. First, one, thank you to everyone that came and added comments. And two, Ajitha, amazing. There's so many short clips in this, people really need to just start it from beginning to end. You just had so many amazing things that you said. I love that Source was bringing down what it is that really needed to resonate for people today. And so thank you so much for joining us. And, I'm so glad that I found you in my research and reached out to you and took a chance in having you join us. So I would like for you to end us today. And I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there something else additional that's coming through? Do we have time for me to just blurb that out?
Absolutely.
So you talked about projection and reflecting on where it's coming from a conditioning standpoint. And what I've also seen is something that we don't talk about, both in a person's personal energy, a family field, as well as in organizations, because we are working with energy everywhere. And the organizations have an energetic field or an identity that it holds. So when you move from one company to another, you're subconsciously conforming to the unsaid rules, what we call culture externally. There are unsaid rules, obligations, and agreements that a person is saying yes to when they enter into an organizational field. And that is a subtle field that is also controlling the beliefs and how a person shows up in the organization. Yeah. And that is important for people to become aware, because when you are unable to be your best self within an organization, reflect on how the organization's culture and the unsaid subtle field is impacting your beliefs, thoughts, narratives, and stories, because that is an interaction that you want to become aware of to shift for yourself, so you can truly be the leader in the organizational setting and not become one of the people that just blindly follows that organization's setting without becoming aware. So In conclusion, I want to say self-awareness, not that, oh, I know I get triggered like this or that. No, self-awareness to the point where you become an observer of the thoughts that you're having.
Mm.
That, and not just observer, but also learning how to instantly change and shift and make a different decision every moment. That's deep self-awareness and self-management. That is going to be, I would say that is going to be the basic, most required skill of the era we are entering into with AI acceleration.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sit in your spot equals you fulfilled your purpose.
Yes.
And
well, not sit in the spot where you are, but you get the point. It's like find your sweet spot. Yes. Thanks.
And I will also add that sometimes your purpose continues to evolve. So what fits you today may not fit you in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Any other final thoughts that you have for us today as we start to exit?
Final thoughts. First of all, thank you for to every one of you that have shown up here, listened and commented and journeyed along with us. I absolutely enjoyed this chat, and a lot came through that I obviously didn't plan for. And so just so people know, this was not rehearsed. I didn't know what Sarah was going to ask me. I didn't know what I was going to answer. So everything here is spontaneously offered and shared. So grateful for whatever has come through, and I'm trusting that whoever needs to hear this at the right time and place would come across that and would benefit from it. That's all. Just being of service.
I love that. Yep. Being of service. And I love that we're sharing the things that we have learned along the way in hopes that it'll help others. And also sometimes it's also helping ourselves as well, because we're continuing to grow too. And so again, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And we will be back next week. So today we had a new face that joined us, but next week we're going to be having JC that's going to be joining us again. And so JC was previously on here. Quintana is his last name. And we're going to be talking about the shame trap. And so we're going to, start to continue to focus on those things that we need awareness on. And we're going to end up concluding that part of the year in March on all of the things that we need to be aware of in our journey of awakening our inner self, our inner badass. And then we're going to start to get into the skills side of things. So be sure to come back next week, and then be sure to join on the third week, because the third week we'll do a private meeting and we'll just be meeting with everyone. So you are welcome to come back, and anybody that joined us today, you are welcome to come back that third week. It'll just be a private link where we'll have it offline and talk about the things that we covered that month. And so again, thank you everyone for joining us, and have an amazing badass Friday and an amazing weekend. And for those that love Super Bowl, I know we're going to be celebrating and watching that Super Bowl. And I just want everyone to have an amazing weekend, and we will see you again next week.